It's Friday the 24th of February 2017, and you are listening to the Paul Clark podcast. So the results of the Stoke-on-Trent and Copeland by-election are well and truly in, and I'm sure by this point you've all heard that Labour retained Stoke-on-Trent by the skin of their teeth, and they lost Copeland to the Conservatives. But all of this, though, doesn't change the fact that Labour right now is in a terrible, terrible state. And I can't really say any more than I've already said previously, over and over again. But Jeremy Corbyn has to go. He has to go. Because the fact that this was even a question mark, the fact that this was even in some doubt as to whether he could retain Stoke, should tell you everything you need to know. And the fact that the people of Copeland went with an MP of a party that is currently in power, of the serving government, should tell you everything you need to know. Because that never normally happens. By-elections, traditionally, are normally a way for the people to give the government a kicking. So they vote for the opposition, no matter what. It's just a way to give the current serving government a bashing, a kicking. Vote with the opposition. Send a message to Theresa May and the Conservative Party. Well, the people of Copeland certainly sent a message to Theresa May, a message that they felt they were better off with a Conservative MP than a Labour MP. That's what the people of Copeland did. Now, Theresa May's all made up. You could just see today how happy she was, and I'm happy, because really forget UKIP, by the way. I just want to say this. I'm not even going to talk about UKIP, because UKIP, what are they? UKIP have got nothing beyond getting us out of the European Union, which they've successfully done, because they managed to bully and intimidate a weak Prime Minister in David Cameron into giving us a referendum and getting us out of the European Union. Well, they did that successfully, but UKIP don't have anything else. They don't have any policies elsewhere beyond Europe. So when people will say to me, when I hear people say things like, oh, UKIP, one day we could have a UKIP governing party. We could have UKIP in power. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. And UKIP, as of today, is done. I mean, never mind Jeremy Corbyn resigning, which he should, by the way, but also so should Paul Nuttall. He should resign as UKIP leader, and UKIP should just fold up and crawl off and die, because it's not a relevant party anymore. All they ever had was Europe, and to continuously push the notion of us getting out of Europe and becoming an independent, sovereign country. Well, we have now. Well, we're in the process of doing it. We don't need UKIP anymore. So go home, UKIP. You are not wanted anymore. But the Conservatives really have given Labour a bloody nose. And Jeremy Corbyn, who I don't think has any self-realisation at all. I mean, obviously right now he's going around Stoke-on-Trent, I've no doubt, trying to big himself up and talk about what a great victory it was to retain Stoke. Wasn't a great victory, Jeremy. You're a very lucky man is what you are. You're a very lucky man in that you were going up against a party with a leader, by the way, who was just as much of a bigger idiot as you are. You were lucky, but that's it. But your luck will not last forever. Your party is in a terrible state. And I had hoped that he would resign, and that, he would have some self-realisation to think, okay, we won, we retained Stoke-on-Trent, but not by much. Not by much. and we lost Copeland to the current governing party. I need to go. Labour needs to be re-energised, regenerated. It needs a bit of a rethink. But the man has no self-realisation. And I don't think, short of him, say, falling ill, which I obviously don't want to happen, by the way, but short of him having to step aside for health reasons, I believe he will lead Labour to the next general election, and Labour will be decimated. Labour is heading for the biggest single defeat in their history if Jamie Corbyn remains as leader. And they will never, ever recover from it. So when I hear all these lefties going on, all these Corbynistas saying about how the Conservatives want to destroy the NHS, okay, maybe they do. But what you guys need to do is give a strong opposing argument, an opposition, and a message that connects to the people of Stoke, connects to the people of Copeland, makes people wake up to the evils of the Tory party. Never mind continuously saying what the Tories are going to do, and the Tories are this and the Tories are that. Let's talk about what Labour's going to do. What is Labour going to do to make things better? What is Jamie Corbyn and his vision for a communist socialist Labour Party going to do to make the NHS, to give the NHS better funding, better care? How is he going to improve it? And how is he going to get his message out there to the people? A message that is obviously not resonating. Not resonating. You got lucky in Stoke, Jamie. But that's all it is. Don't get arrogant. Don't get cocky. Don't get cocky. Because it could have so easily have gone the other way. And I would love to have seen a battle between Labour, Jamie Corbyn and the Labour Party, and the Conservative Party. Theresa May and the Conservatives versus Jamie Corbyn and Labour. I think she would have wiped the floor with him. She wipes the floor with him every Wednesday on Prime Minister's Questions. You know, and I did see some footage of him today, actually, in Stoke. And he just looked really angry. Because he knows that he can't keep his party together. Labour is crashing and burning. And mark my words, if Jamie Corbyn fights next general election, they will lose. 100% they will lose, and Labour will never, ever recover. So if that's what you Corbynistas want, if you want to guarantee Tory Conservative rule for the next 100 years, go ahead. Knock yourself out. Keep Jamie Corbyn there. Keep banging the drum of Corbyn. Because that's, you know, you're just giving it to the Tories. That's what you're doing. The worst thing your party ever did was get rid of Tony Blair. The worst single thing. He wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. But I said it at the time. People thought, you know, that I was mad. People thought that, you know, I was a warmonger for supporting someone like Blair, who took us into an illegal war with us and the Americans and George Bush, took us into the illegal war of Iraq and Afghanistan. People thought I was crazy to support that guy. Well, who's crazy now, huh? Tony Blair won 1, 2, 3 elections. 20 years ago this year, with the biggest landslide, the biggest majority known to British politics to date. Gordon Brown, disaster. Ed Miliband, disaster. Jamie Corbyn. I repeat, the fact that it was even in question as to whether he could retain Stoke, the fact that he lost Copeland to the Tories. That's not supposed to happen. By-elections are supposed to be a chance to give... The people are supposed to use by-elections to give the current government a kicking. That's what's supposed to happen. They're not supposed to side with the current serving government. They're supposed to vote for the opposition. But the people of Copeland obviously thought different. And were like, nope. No. We'll vote Tory. That's a better option, they thought, than voting Labour. Voting for the opposition. I mean, let me ask you. If you're a Corbynista right now, if you're one of Jeremy Corbyn's supporters and you're listening to this, be honest with me. Be honest. Are you genuinely happy with this result? Does this make you sleep well at night, knowing that you and your leader just retained Stoke-on-Trent by the skin of its teeth, and you lost Copeland to the current governing party? That can't be good. That can't be good, and you have to do some soul searching as to the current state that your party and your leader is in right now. But he won't go, as I say, because the man has no self-realisation. I just generally think he doesn't understand, really. He either doesn't understand or doesn't care. Maybe a mix of both. But I just don't think he has any self-realisation. I've noticed that he started doing a Trump lately. He started acting like Trump in the way he treats the media and ignoring the media. But to be fair, Jeremy, you know, they had some legitimate questions for you today. And I'm no fan of the mainstream media myself these days. But it's very interesting how you just ignored them. You were talking about your great victory at Stoke, but let's talk about Copeland. Let's talk about how low the turnout was for Stoke-on-Trent. You are a very, very lucky man, Jeremy Corbyn. A very, very lucky man that you were going up against an idiot and a party that is basically falling into an abyss of obscurity and irrelevance. But I would love to have seen a direct fight between you and Theresa May and the Conservative Party. They would massacre you, Jeremy Corbyn. They would massacre you, massacre your movement, and destroy the Labour Party. But it will be you, Jeremy Corbyn, that puts the Labour Party out of action. You will destroy that party. You will throw it into an abyss, and it will never, ever recover. This was the last chance, I believe, for Labour to stop the bleeding that Jeremy Corbyn and his movement have caused. And okay, he won Stoke. He certainly has a little bit more time to maybe to prepare, to maybe rethink and rebuild before the next general election. But not a lot of time, Jeremy. Not a lot of time. And if I was you, if you really care for that party, you will step aside with immediate effect. But you won't. You won't. And as I've said before in my last podcast, the real losers here are the people of Stoke-on-Trent. Because Labour, UKIP, makes no difference who gets in. Because Jeremy Corbyn, just like Paul Nuttall, could care less for the people of Stoke. He turned up at Stoke for about 5 minutes today, shook the hands of the victor, shook the hands of the MP, the Labour MP for Stoke, congratulated him, and then went back to London, to his London elitist bubble. That's it. You don't care about Stoke, Jeremy. You just care about you. And all this has ever been about with you, Jeremy Corbyn, and your movement, is destroying the legacy of Tony Blair. But all it'll end up being is you destroy the legacy of the Labour Party. Jeremy Corbyn will single-handedly be the slayer of the Labour Party. Thanks for listening to the Paul Clark Podcast.